Welcome back to the channel, diving right in. So, hernia surgery. Yes, I've had bilateral laparoscopic hernia surgery, and this happened in 2021. And it's crazy that during the time of surgery, prior to the diagnosis, I found out real quickly as I was researching YouTube how limited information sources were during that time. And I was wishing that there was more content on the internet, especially to do with testimonials, post recovery, pre-diagnosis, the steps you take, all the in between. The great news is I am someone that can actually share this experience with you out there, and I think it's very common in men of all ages, in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Typically, it happens a lot later in life. And so, what's important to know here is that my father had hernia surgery many years ago, long, long, long time ago. And he's no longer, by the way. So, if you're saying my condolences, thank you. That's the passage of time. Life passes on. The torch gets handed on, right? And so I read, and I think the doctors also shared with me that there's a 27-28% chance that you may get it. And so I have three brothers, and I am the oldest of the three. I may look the youngest, but I am the oldest of the three. I am a Gen Xer, so by today's average standard and law measure, I'm a dinosaur. I might not look like it, but it's the intermittent fasting life, and so I'm very thankful to that. So what happened is, how I first discovered that there was something off is, by the way, this is inguinal, and please correct me if I'm mispronouncing the name, inguinal hernia. So it's a type of, I think there are like two or three types, one in belly button and one inguinal, which is in your groin area. And although it was minor, um, I caught it during my well, not physical. I get a physical done every year, but I caught this notion. I caught the wind of it. When you're having shower, right? You're examining yourself and you're giving yourself a scrub and feel out process. You got to admit, like we all do it, right? So I something was off a few days prior to me actually saying, you know what, this does not feel right, and I should probably go get checked out. So it was probably like 5-6 days, and I thought it was just gonna go away. Funny how we think that, right? Just because I hate doctors, and I don't like doctors, and I don't like dentists. Not that I hate them, I just don't like those visits because we always think the worst, right? Um, and I was pushing a lot of weight, and there's this myth that, oh, if you're lifting heavy and if you're going beast mode, it causes hernia. And man, that couldn't be further from the truth. The fact is, one, some of this was hereditary, right? And the second thing is, I think it was just a matter of time before the abdominal area, it would sort of tear, and when it tears, you have a little microscopic or piece of your intestine kind of leaking down, if you know what I mean. Like, it's just very small, but it progressively gets worse, 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 worse over time, and it takes many years, right? What you don't want is the the hernia, right? The lump that starts to kind of form and gets bigger with time, is to get caught there, because that's life threatening. By the way, that's what I found out. So obviously, me being the genius and overly prepared and OCD, I made an appointment and I went in. Excuse me. I'm not gonna edit this video. I'm just gonna keep it real. Hopefully, you can relate to the content. And right now, if you're liking the story, you're drawn in, please leave me a like and a subscribe. I would truly appreciate that. And you know, I would be happy to give you advice one off and free. There's no catch to it. My goal is to get this message out because I wish It was one of me when I was going through it. And so my point is that where was I going with this? My point is that you will be okay. So I am okay. 2 years later, I went in and told the doctor that, hey, I'm feeling some discomfort. It wasn't pain. It just felt awkward. I think mine was on the right side, my groin area. It just felt a little awkward. Especially during lifting time, you would just kind of feel it slowly swell up. It wasn't major or anything. This is very minor, but within a month, it just got slightly bigger, and I noticed that there would be moments where it would be painful and just kind of a throbbing of sorts and shooting pain. Like, whoa, where is this coming from? Like, I've never experienced this before. And so those are all the things that led up for me to go to the doctor. So I went to the doctor, and my physician wrote me a prescription or whatnot, a referral is what I'm trying to say, to a specialist, right, a urologist, right. I'm thinking about all of this on the fly, like muscle memory, right. So I make an appointment as soon as the physician wrote down possible hernia, varices, or whatever, that vein to be examined. I was already scared shitless because I knew where this was gonna go. I'm like, oh damn, man, my father had this, right? And my brother, by the way, one of my brothers had a similar procedure in his 20s. So, and he doesn't lift. So go figure. The guy does not lift. Now, one of my other brothers, he's a beast mode. I call him the Arnold, and he lifts too. He's fine, and I wish nothing upon any one of us actually. So 2 out of 3, here I am, and I got hit with the same diagnosis. And so I went. So a week later, I made an appointment, and I went to the urologist. And then the funny part is, I go in, and the front receptionist, they're 2 females, right? And nothing wrong with that. I'm very pleasant, very respectful, but intuitively, I'm like, I just wish I get a lady doctor. So you know what I mean. Sorry. I wish I do not get a lady doctor because I'm more comfortable having this conversation with a male practitioner, if you know what I mean. It's just easier, men will relate to men, especially in areas that have to do with, you know what I mean. And I would imagine so goes for women. So I had a preference, and so they told me that the doctor is out to lunch and will be back in an hour. So I opted to wait despite a female specialist being available. But I wanted to talk to the doctor, have a heart to man, guy to guy, right? And so the doctor finally arrives, all in a great mood. He had a great lunch, came in very friendly, talked, and he goes, oh, yeah, this is normal. What's the prescription? What's the diagnosis? I looked at it. I guess I think I know what this is. So you strip down and you wear a gown, and I just said, I don't need all that, man. I'll just lay down there. I took off my clothes and I'm laying there, and then he brings this, they put some gel in your area, and they get this machine that urologists use, right? So it's like a ultrasound is what I'm saying, like, so they gently go over the areas and to cover 360. And I was very impressed in how thorough they are, because I wanted this guy to get the diagnosis and call it spot on. And so right there on the spot, he saw the x-rays, and mind you, I was trying to get confirmation from him, and he was doing his job. He, being the specialist, said, I am going to send this into the lab for final diagnosis. So the waiting was extremely painful. I couldn't sleep for a few nights. I have general anxiety, so which is fine, normal. In general, I'm very hyper, but I also have anxiety, so which probably explains why I'm so active. And so, I waited for about this whole process. By the way, took 2 weeks, and then I finally get the results as expected. And so now the x-rays came in, confirmed that this is hernia on the right side. But check this out. There's also a development on the left side. Woo! Man, as if one was, scary to me. Right now we got two. And then I'm like, oh my god, this is over. I'm gonna die. I mean, literally, I just the thought of surgery. And then my father, you got to think about it. I'm a Gen Xer. Back in the day, we didn't have the technology that we have today, right? So there's a laparoscopic procedure, and then there's also one that they cut you up near your pelvis area, right? I think like little over your like somewhere in there. They cut that and they go through there. But in the laparoscopic pathway, they go through your belly button and make 3 incisions, kind of like a triangle motion from your belly, and 2 cuts to the side. Very minor, So, but even though they told me this was minute incisions, I just couldn't find it. I couldn't believe that that's how small the cuts were going to be, because I had this vision like they're gonna cut you up and slice you up, dice you in different pieces, because my father's cut was deep, and the way we lived through it as kids, and it's horrific. So it's PTSD, right? That whole thing was insane as a child, seeing my dad go through it. And my dad did not work out. He was a soccer player, but he didn't lift weights and all that stuff. So there was this myth through my entire childhood that once he had hernia, life is over. You'll never be the same again. You'll never be able to lift again. You can't do this, you can't do that, and that's it, it's over. You are done, my friend. So I went into all of this with that anxiety. Like, I was depressed, I was sad. I couldn't believe it, because this was just, I've never experienced. So this would be, medically speaking, probably the most intense and scariest experience I was undergoing. It's not actually, so I will cover that. I'm gonna break this video down in intervals, because if you'd like to see more, you can DM me on Instagram, you can message me, whatever you'd like to do, comment below, whatever. Now, I'm just totally being myself and personality, just so I can reach out to the normal viewer. Just so far, if you're following with me and you enjoy this story, just vibe with me. And so, I'm gonna stop this video and continue in another segment, but there's one more piece to this, right? So your physician refers you to a urologist. Urologist will then recommend a specialist, like someone who specializes in just these kinds of surgeries, and you want to make sure that you research your doctor who's going to perform that surgery on you, because remember, it's robotic, laparoscopic, right? So he's going into an assisted robotic with arms, 2 robotic arms, and the precision with robotic, right, is so damn amazing that it's assisting his fingers that go into the X-ray, that laparoscopic machine, right? And they're conducting. So he knows. This guy knew. So anyway, they found a doctor. He's in Silicon Valley, and I'm gonna leave his name in the next video here. But I wanted to stop this video so that I can continue part 2 of this series. I don't know how many series there's going to be where I conclude the conversation here. There's a lot to cover, gents, ladies and gentlemen, here. But anyway, I identified, I made the appointment, I went, a consultation, at least 3 visits with him. So now this is spanning a month, and I'm still lifting, like no worries. I'm pushing like 200 something on bench, squatting a significant amount of weight, and no problems. But I do notice that now it's a month over, and the groin starts swelling up slightly. It wasn't bad. You could even take your 2 fingers and push the little lump back into your intestines, right? How do you say it? Intestines? I'm England, like I'm British, meaning I grew up in a British country, New Zealand. So some of my pronunciations you may laugh at. So just like water, would you like a glass of water? So anyway, I'm digressing. So you're getting a mix and flavor of my personality as well, right? So, in any case, I met with this specialist here. He gave me the prognosis that most of these hernia surgeries have a high rate of success. I opted to get the hernia mesh. So what they do, it's like a net, very thin layers of netting that they insert. Right, they put in between the torn area of your abdominal area, and then it just kind of layers over in between your groin inside, and so it holds up the intestines basically appropriately, right? And that's really the long and short of that procedure. And so once he explained that to me, I went in there at least 3 times over the course of like 10 days, just because I wanted to make sure that this is not life threatening, I'm not gonna die, and all that great stuff. So it was all confirmed. There's some downsides, he shared with me what those are. I can share that in the next video. The possibilities and the chances of those bad things happening to you as a result of the surgery are very slim, and I'm an example. So please, I know you want me to share more. Maybe if you've gotten this far, I promise to bring you more content on how mentally I prepared for surgery and started preparing for surgery as this diagnosis was final, and now we're to that step. The decision lay on me. Here's the thing, guys, girls. Had I waited longer than 2 or 3 days, I would have put off the surgery for a while, because they also encourage that if you don't really want to have this done, you don't need to get it done. It's a matter of preference. And knowing me, is my mic on? Yeah. Knowing me, this would bother me. I wanted to nip this and get it taken care of right away. I was thinking Kobe Bryant, Mamba. So I saw the Achilles video, right, when he tore his Achilles video. I watched that for motivation, his comeback. And I said, no, F this. I am doing this. That's it. It's a deal I made, and that's it. I'm not going to go back. I just signed off right away on day 2 and told the doctor, let's do it. I'm going to go in. And so I did not defer with any family, friends. I'm a little bit of an introvert, really. I am an extrovert, but really an introvert. And I made the decision, stubborn for the better, that I'm going to get this done. I was scared, nervous as hell. And although they define this as a very minor procedure, you got to understand that there are some of us going through this for the very first time. This happened in 2021, and I realized that it also happened during COVID. We're just coming out of it. And so all of those factors went in to make the whole experience quite the experience. So it's not that scary. And I know after my recovery, I shared the story with a few folks, even some doctors. And I found out some of the doctors, male doctors, they also are sitting on inguinal hernias that they just chosen not to do. Obviously, they don't push weights and all that stuff. I'm very active, so I had to get this done. I absolutely had to get this done. I got both sides done. And so I'm going to stop the video here, because this has gone for nearly 19-20 minutes, probably the longest video here. No editing really, because I wanted to keep this as authentic as I can, relate to you. I know there's many of you out there that have had surgery but have not shared your experiences. But I also know that this case is very, very common, more common than you think. It's got nothing to do with old age. That's a myth. I've debunked that. Like I said, my brother was in his 20s when he got it. I know of people through testimonials, research, and experience that this is very common. It can happen at any age. Thing is, I just chose to get it done right then and there within a month or so time period. And so, yes, this is the story of the hernia surgery. And I've given you part one of how I discovered it, the diagnosis, the steps I went through, seeing the doctors, changing hands, and even talking to a medicine doctor. Got my research done on recovery, exercises, what to do, what not to do. So I hope to come back in the second video and share how I prepped for surgery on that day and what it was like after. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you connected with me, heart, soul, mind, body, spirit. Intermittent fasting during my surgery was money. Was money, was money, was money, and kept me in shape. I couldn't lift, and so I counted on protein meals, eating as clean as I could, water, all of that to just, kind of maintain my muscle mass. But anyway, I could go on. Thank you for listening for my rant. I appreciate you all, and I hope you can once again really relate. If you're scared, if you're losing sleep over this, don't. The procedure itself is a lot simpler than you can imagine. Stay tuned, and I will cover more in part 2 of this journey and surgery. So with that being said, Mamba out.